So before I had my dental surgery, I ran a poll and asked you guys what video you want to see next, and My Little Pony won overwhelmingly so. And when I looked at my request list, this one called a Cutie Pox, created by Cummy Gummy 420, was at the top of the request list. Now, if the name Cutie Pox sounds familiar to you, it's because it's based on a real episode from season 2, episode 6. Now, in this episode, we see that the Cutie Mark Crusaders are trying to figure out how to get their cutie marks, but in this pursuit, Apple Bloom ends up getting injured and goes to Zecora for some healing. Now, while in Zecora's hut, Apple Bloom gets access to a plant called Heart's Desire, and when she eats it, she ends up contracting the cutie pox. And while at first, the pox simply gives her a cutie mark, but over time, she starts to develop more and more marks, slowly losing control over her body and her mind. Now in the show, Zecora is able to find a cure before things can get out of hand, but in this AU, we actually get to see what happens if a cure isn't found quickly enough. And based on this first panel of Apple Bloom, we can already tell that this is about to be really bad for the ponies. And as we get more images of her, it just gets worse and worse. Now I want to point out a few things in this panel here. The first is that Apple Bloom is patient 0, meaning that she was the first pony to actually be infected with this virus. And this makes sense because she was also the first pony to get it in the original show. We also see that she has at least 13 cutie marks on her body, meaning that she is really deep into this infection now. And while her body is rotting away, she is still intact enough to actually chase down and attack other ponies. The saddest part here is that even though she is still semi-conscious, she no longer has control over her body, so I don't think she can stop herself even if she wanted to. Now, when we look at later chapters in this AU, we see that Twilight Sparkle has actually been making some notes about the virus, including what it actually is and how it spreads. And when we get to this page, she actually has the phases that the ponies go through. Here we see that the virus can be passed to other ponies if they are bitten by an infected. And one of the things that makes this virus really bad right off the rip is that amputation doesn't work for this virus. Once you are bitten, it's basically game over unless somebody finds a cure. It looks like it takes about 12 to 24 hours for ponies to fully go into stage 1. And this is where they start to become like really tired, they lose their feathers or their fur, they start sweating a ton, and their horns get damaged. They'll move over to stage 2 after another 24 hours or so, and here's where they start to become confused and disoriented, no longer understanding what's actually happening to them. We also see that their flesh starts to rot away, starting at their original cutie mark. That wet cough from stage 1 gets worse, and now they cough up this red mucus, and they are starting to develop like this insatiable hunger. And also, I want to point out the sunkenness of their eyes here. The artist did a really great job of showing the panic of the ponies in stage 2. Now, stage 3 takes place 1 to 4 days after stage 2, meaning that there may be time to save these ponies if they can get a cure before they move over to this stage. But once they get to stage 3, I have a feeling that there is no going back. At this stage, the infected ponies will begin lashing out at any other pony that they see, and this lets us know that Apple Bloom is at least at stage 3 of the infection right now. Another thing that we learned here is that at stage 3, the pony's horns will break, which may actually be a blessing because at least there's no chance of the infected ponies using magic. I feel like a magic zombie would just be cheating. After that, we get to stage 4, and this one comes pretty quickly after stage 3. This is where we see the pony's body start to elongate, and whatever their original cutie mark was starts to shine through. So since this pony had flowers for their cutie mark, stage 4 made them sprout these flowers out of their mouth and also out of their infected area. And to the surprise of no one, at this point, the pony is completely gone, and it's just like a mindless husk. After about 2 more weeks, the ponies will move over to stage 5, and at this point, the ponies are truly falling apart. Their necks are all crooked, their jaws are falling limp, and their overall body is a twisted mess. But the worst part is that at this stage, the ponies will start to release spores from any open wound on their body. And if any pony breathes them in, they'll die within 30 minutes, which is a nice twist that I didn't see coming. I thought that the spores would kind of be like a Last of Us thing, where if you breathe them in, you also become infected. But honestly, this is so much worse because basically there's no saving you if you breathe in the spores. And finally, we have stage 6. And while there isn't a whole lot of information about this stage, we do know that this is the final form. At this stage, the ponies' bodies will either be fully broken down or they'll just stop moving. But they do continue to release these spores, meaning that whatever area they're in is basically off limits. Now, back over in the main story, we see AJ is still alive and clean of the infection, but she's a bit beat up. It seems that she got into a tussle with her sister, but managed to escape. The bad news here, though, is that she also learned that in this AU, the truth seed, which was the cure in the original episode, doesn't work, meaning that they'll need to find an alternate vaccine for the ponies. And to make matters worse, when Apple Bloom attacked AJ, Zecora and Twilight were there as well, and the only reason that AJ escaped is because her sister jumped on Zecora instead. Seeing this, Twilight and AJ ran away, leaving Zecora to try and fight off Apple Bloom alone, which was the worst thing that they could have done, because if we're being honest, she's one of the few characters that may actually have a chance of making a vaccine. And in her panel, we see that she is still alive, but she's been bitten, which likely means that she's infected. The saddest part here is that as Zecora is kind of laid out on the ground, she keeps calling for help over and over, begging AJ or Twilight to not leave her behind, but what she doesn't know is that they're already long gone. In Twilight's panel, we get to see that she was overwhelmed by everything happening, and while she didn't want to leave Zecora, she kind of panicked, and she didn't know what else to do in that moment. The one good thing here though is that she's not just running aimlessly right now, but rather she's going to inform Princess Celestia about what's happening, and I'm really hoping that this version of the princess is more like the Virus Z Princess Celestia, who was just slaying every infected that she saw, because we need more of that energy in these AUs. After that, we see Rainbow Dash, and she is still alive and safe. She was sleeping on a cloud when Apple Bloom started attacking ponies, and while she doesn't actually know what's going on, her first instinct is to go check on Fluttershy and make sure that she's also safe. And funny enough, while all hell is breaking loose, Shy is just chilling in her cottage, cutting her hair, and getting ready to go on a little picnic, completely unaware of everything going on outside. Pinkie, on the other hand, is not so lucky. She was in the town when Apple Bloom started attacking ponies, and she actually witnessed her rip another pony apart. And while she is still clean of the infection, she's hiding in her bakery, and with Apple Bloom infecting so many ponies, I'm not sure how long she's actually going to be safe there. The last pony we see in this chapter is Rarity, and just like Shy, she's safe in her workshop with Sweetie Belle. Funny enough, the two of them are making a gift for Apple Bloom to celebrate the fact that she has received her cutie mark, unaware that she has become a monster at this point. In the next chapter, we get to say that this ignorance doesn't last though, and Apple Bloom starts approaching Rarity and Sweetie. But at first, the pair doesn't seem to be afraid, which surprised me because Bloom looks like this right now. And I know it's hard to read this text, so I'll go ahead and translate. Rarity basically says, "Apple Bloom, is that you, darling? We made you a congratulations present." But Apple Bloom is too far gone to understand, and she lashes out at the sisters. Now, when we get to see her stat sheet again, it becomes very clear now that she is at least at the third stage of the infection, and it's way too far gone to try to reason with. The only thing the ponies can do now is just try to avoid her while she's lashing out at any pony that she sees. Luckily, Rarity was able to keep her presence of mind and protect her sister, and also get some distance from Apple Bloom, deciding to run over to AJ's farm to see if the rest of Bloom's family is okay. And as to be expected, Sweetie is terrified, but also confused as to what's happening to her friend, because as of right now, most of the ponies are unaware of the Cutie Pox outbreak. When we cut over to AJ, we see that she's okay, but she's also depressed because she wasn't able to save her sister. The good news is that both Big Mac and Granny are still okay though. And seeing this, Twilight decides to leave AJ with her family and continues her way to Princess Celestia, understanding that she needs to inform her of this outbreak ASAP. And although she is worried about Spike, she knows that she can't make a detour to go check on him. This image of him laying alone in the house, trying to drown out the noises of people getting attacked outside, is kind of heartbreaking though. But at least we know that he's safe for now. Sadly, the same can't be said for Zecora. Since she was bitten by Apple Bloom, she's been wandering around the town looking for any herbs that she can find. And at first, I thought that she was still trying to find a cure before she loses her mind, but she's actually eating all the herbs. And I think this showcases that the infection may be moving faster through her body. Two notes for Zecora also stand out for me. The first one here says that her bite has unknown side effects, which I hope doesn't mean that she's gonna like mutate in some way. And the second message says, no matter how much she begs you to help, don't. After that, we see Pinkie again, and she is still hiding out in her shop. That is until her tail starts to twitch, or aka her Pinkie sense kicks in.
Twitchy, twitch, twitch, twitch.
And I think this means that in the next chapter, something is likely going to break into Pinkie's shop. The last two characters that we get an update for in this chapter are Rainbow and Shy, and we see here that Rainbow bursts into Fluttershy's cottage, and while she wants to tell her what's happening, Dash is like in a state of shock. So all she manages to tell Shy is that soon, no place will be safe because it's spreading. And of course, Shy looks terrified because she has no idea what Dash is talking about, but can clearly tell that her friend is shaken. And in the next chapter, we start off with Shy trying to get Dash to open up about what she's seen in town, and while it's clearly hard for Dash to speak about it, eventually she musters up enough courage to try, but before she can get out more than one word, they hear a loud crash outside. And we learn that this is likely Zecora. Apparently she's been wandering around Ponyville, but now she's no longer looking for plants, but rather ponies. She's using her good sense of smell to sniff out any ponies that are hiding. And in this case, she's breaking down the door of Shy's cottage because she's caught the scent of her and Dash. And since Zecora is at the point where she's attacking any pony that she sees, Dash and Shy have no real choice but to run away. We also learn here that Dash ends up kicking Zecora, and while the kick didn't actually take her out, it did give the ponies time to escape. But I was surprised to see that Dash didn't escape unscathed and was actually bitten by Zecora. And when she realizes this, she flies away, leaving Shy alone. And I think she does this because she doesn't want to end up attacking Shy, but also because she's in a state of panic and running was the best plan that she can come up with on the spot. Now back over at AJ's farm, we see that she and her family are trying to turn their farm into like a shelter for the ponies of Ponyville. As AJ was gathering wood and other supplies, she heard Sweetie Belle screaming in the distance. When AJ ran over to her, she found not only Sweetie, but also Rarity. And while Rarity is clearly beat up, she doesn't seem to be infected. I am a little worried about the wound on her leg though. I wouldn't be surprised if later on we found out that she was bitten by Apple Bloom, but I'm hoping not because Rarity usually doesn't get a break in these AUs. Now, I'm happy to see that Sweetie Belle is completely fine physically, but of course she isn't doing well emotionally. She basically just watched one of her best friends turn into a monster and still doesn't really understand what's happening. It also breaks my heart that she's holding on to this little piece of Bloom's bow, almost as if she's still holding out hope that her friend will come back to her. But based on this image of her here, it's safe to say that she is not going to be saved. And if that wasn't bad enough, she's also started mimicking other ponies as she stumbles around the town, luring more of them to her and infecting them with the pox. Next, we get to see Pinky, and she is now running through the streets heading over to Twilight's place, but when she got there, she noticed that the front door was open and the house was empty. So she simply kept running around the town looking for any ponies clean of the infection, only using her knife when she absolutely had to. Now, the thing that worries me here is, where is Spike? I'm pretty sure he was in the castle last time we got an update for him, and I'm hoping that he's still okay because just like Rarity, he's another one of those characters that usually gets screwed over. Now, some good news is that Twilight has finally made it to Celestia's castle and is able to barricade the door. But to my surprise, when Twilight finds Celestia and Luna, the sisters are already well aware of what's going on in the town, and more importantly, they understand full well how dangerous the Cutie Pox can be. And something else that I find interesting is that Luna went into Apple Bloom's dream after she became infected, and whatever she saw was so bad that she refuses to speak about it. And to make matters even worse, she's now been unable to sleep after going into her dreams. We also see that Princess Cadence has come to Ponyville, and the three of them have been working in shifts to try to find a cure for the outbreak. And while seeing all four of them together now kind of gives me hope, I'm really curious to see where Discord is, because I think they're really going to need him to actually step up in his AU. The final scenes in this chapter are a series of sketches that show Spike sleeping in his bed until he gets a message from Twilight, and it simply says, "Get to the castle, be safe, don't get bit." So at least we get to see that my boy is still safe for now. The next chapter starts with this weird red hue over Ponyville, and I was confused about this until I saw the update stat sheet for Rainbow. Apparently, she's been flying around Ponyville non-stop ever since she was infected, and the red images show us how Dashy actually views the town. Now, at first, I thought that she was flying around as a way to stay away from other ponies, but that's not the case. If she sees any pony clean of the infection, she'll dive down and bite them. And since we all know that Dashy is one of the fastest ponies, there really aren't many ponies that can avoid her, especially if they get caught out in the open. Next, we see Shy again, and we learn that when she saw Rainbow flying away in the previous chapter, she didn't try to go after her. But once she made it to town, she saw how many ponies were infected or just straight up lifeless. Seeing this, she initially had a breakdown and curled up right in the middle of the town, but luckily, Pinky was able to find her and get her back on her feet. It looks like the two of them hid out in Pinky's shop for about another day, and now they have decided to go see if they can actually find Twilight. And the reason that Shy is completely covered in a black suit and Pinky has this scarf and the leg warmers is because they're trying to cover their body any way that they can to prevent infected from being able to bite them easily. But one piece of good news in this chapter is that Gummy and Angel are still alive and hiding out in Pinky's workshop. And while the two of them are clearly traumatized, they at least have each other and are keeping each other entertained. Zecora is completely gone at this point. The only thing driving her now is her hunger and the will to do violence to any pony that she can find. When we move back over to AJ, we see that she is still reinforcing her farm and helping any injured pony that needs shelter. The good news is that a bunch of ponies have gathered on the farm now, and they're all banding together to keep the biters out, which is the name that they've given the infected. And while I'm happy that some of the ponies are doing well, I don't like that AJ seems to be overworking herself. because honestly, we need her to stay in tip-top shape considering that she's kind of the leader of the shelter. We also get to see that Sweetie is still safe and even started helping out more around the farm, but the same can be said about Rarity. While she looks fine at first glance, when we zoom in here, we can see that her wound is slightly infected, and I doubt that it's a normal infection, but I'm hoping that I'm wrong. Now, back at the Canterlot castle, we see that Twilight is still reading any information that she can about the Truth Seed or any other possible cure, but just like AJ, she's overworking herself. Celestia is trying to help out when she can, but she's also splitting her focus with looking over the ponies down in Ponyville. She's also been trying to get her sister to get some sleep because Luna has been awake for 2 days straight. She's been acting very frantic ever since she tapped into Apple Bloom's dreams, and she still won't share with anybody what she actually saw while in the dream world. I just hope that she didn't get infected while dreamwalking, because we do know in some AUs that is possible. Cadence seems to be the only one of them really keeping it together. She sees that everybody is pushing themselves too hard and is doing her best to remind them that they have to actually eat and sleep. If they fail to find a cure here, the other ponies will suffer, so she's basically telling them to lock in. The final scenes of this chapter show us Rainbow Dash's perspective again, but this time she's heading to the castle, and it looks like the drawbridge is down, allowing for easy access. And the last thing we see her say is Twilight's name. The next chapter starts with this awesome image of Twilight using her magic to try to find some answers in these books, but she is still having no luck. And you can tell that all this is really taking a toll on her mental as she continues to push herself more and more. And this panel here showcases it very well, as she kept telling herself to think over and over again because all the ponies are depending on her. And while she's in the middle of all this, she hears a bang somewhere in the castle. And if you're like me, you likely thought that this was Rainbow finally making her way inside, but in actuality, it was Spike. And while he looks a bit scratched up, at least he's alive and he doesn't seem to be bitten. And I have to admit, I love seeing how happy the two of them are now that they're reunited. I also like that in Twilight's updated stat sheet, we see that they refuse to leave each other's side. And while Spike is sleeping most of the time trying to regain his strength, his presence has really helped stabilize Twilight's mental state and also given her the hope that she needs to continue researching. The next sheet shows Rainbow, and this is truly awful. She is flying so fast at this point that she is doing something called the Sonic Rain Boom. And this basically means that she is moving so fast that she is able to create a shockwave, and she is also leaving like a seemingly permanent rainbow around Ponyville. Now what ponies can't see is that she is moving so quickly, and since she's been doing it for like 11 days now, pieces of her are starting to peel away due to this continuous speed. But since Dash is basically a zombie now, she doesn't even realize that she's damaging herself. Another scary thing that we learned here is that Dash has been flying around this whole time because she's actually looking for AJ. And as we see here, she is repeating her name over and over again. But luckily, AJ is still at the farm, and it should be fairly fortified at this point. Next, we see Pinky again, and this was one of the few AUs where she has really locked in. Alongside Fluttershy, she has been going around Ponyville trying to save as many ponies and pets as she can. She's also been using her Pinky senses as a guide for how they should defend themselves, and this is why she's wearing this gas mask. And considering that she is caked in gore, we know that she has likely taken out her fair share of infected at this point. Now, one of the newest pets that the pair is able to find in town is Tank, which is the turtle here. But the little dude is so scared and traumatized that he's unable to move. Eventually though, with the help of Pinky, Shy is able to get the turtle to safety, and while it may not seem like much in the grand scheme of things, I'm happy that these two were able to actually keep a few of these little critters safe. In most AUs, these little guys are usually taken out off screen, and they're one of the first to go. After that, we get to see AJ again, and surprisingly, she has Winona with her. And while this character pops up often in the show, I think this is the first time I've actually seen them in an AU. And it finally looks like AJ is going to allow herself to take a break, going to Rarity and asking her to take over looking after the farm while she rests. And honestly, I'm surprised that Rarity wasn't infected. It looks like whatever wound she got from Apple Bloom wasn't a bite, because it's been like 12 days or so since the attack, and she would have turned a long time ago. While Sweetie Belle is still safe, she has become super antsy and is constantly trying to help in any way that she can. And I think this is due to the fact that she couldn't help Apple Bloom, so now she strives to be as useful as she can to the other survivors on the farm. And speaking of Apple Bloom, it seems like she and Zecora have both disappeared into the Everfree Forest. And while this isn't the worst outcome, considering that they are both likely releasing spores out of their bodies at this point, any pony or critter that even gets close to them will likely meet a untimely end. And considering that they are out in the woods, they may not even notice the spores until it's too late. Next we see Princess Cadis, and I just want to take a moment to appreciate this image. I absolutely love the way that Cadence looks here. Now, the reason that she looks so upset here is because Celestia has been working both Twilight and Luna to the point of exhaustion. Neither of them have been getting much sleep, and while Twilight doesn't look too bad, Luna looks terrible. And to make matters worse, she is so out of it mentally that she has started referring to herself in third person. While it may not seem like a big deal, it may imply that Luna isn't really herself right now. And funny enough, when you read these little notes, she's also displaying signs of being infected, although it still says that she's clean. And I think it goes back to when she jumped into Apple Bloom's dreams. Now, when we finally get over to Celestia, it seems like Cadence has finally convinced her to allow Twilight to take a break, but she still seems to be in denial when it comes to her sister. For some reason, she's unable to accept that something is seriously wrong with Luna right now. But considering that she refuses to make eye contact with Cadence, and also with her status saying that she's guilty, I feel like Celestia may be hiding something. And in the next scene, we get to see that Twilight is still desperately searching for a cure, asking Spike to take notes, but the little guy doesn't respond to her. And this is odd because he's basically been attached to her hip this whole time. And while she goes searching for him, she ends up finding Luna, and she looks absolutely nightmarish here. It's kind of hard to make out, but she basically looks just like Apple Bloom looked in the beginning of the AU. And once Luna spots Twilight, she attacks her. But luckily, before things can get out of hand, Cadence and Celestia appear to back her up. And while Celestia is trying to get through to her sister, her words are not actually reaching her, so she has to use her magic to restrain her. And while trying to console her sister, Twilight turns to walk away, her horn looking to be damaged and gore running down her face. And to my surprise, the AU ends right there, just when it's really starting to heat up. Now, I love the idea that Luna may have gotten infected through the dream world, and I really hope that the creator gives us an update so that we can see how this resolves. I'm also curious to see how they're going to find a cure, especially since Zecora is fully infected. I imagine that Discord would likely have to play a role, but as of now, all we can do is wait and hope for more. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video on the screen here, and if you want to support the channel further, make sure to click that join button and become a member of the Orseofkorse. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on another video. Peace, peace.